26 February 2022 at 9:30 p.m., Ukraine filed an case against Russian hostilities in International Court of Justice. Ukraine urged ICJ to pronounce its verdict as soon as possible. So now ICJ has come up with a verdict that has ordered Russia to halt its invasion of Ukraine immediately, saying that the court had not seen any evidence to support the Kremlin's justification for the war. Russia was claiming that the Ukraine was committing genocide on Russian declared so-called Donetsk and Luhansk Republic. The court also noted that the Russia has decided not to participate in oral proceedings and later presented a document setting out its position in that case. In that document, Russia stated that the court lacks the jurisdictions and requested it to refrain from indicating provisional measures and to remove the case from its list. But International Court of Justice cannot simply do that, because the International Court of Justice is doing these kind of things, this kind of disputed matters is being resolved by using the International Court of Justice since it began its operation in 1946. Let's talk a little about ICJ, because it is very important to know what it is, why its verdict is so valuable and how it works. An International Court of Justice is also known as World Court, which is one of the 6 principal organs of United Nations. The ICJ is the successor of the Permanent Court of International Justice, which was established in 1920 by the League of Nations. After Second World War, both the League and the PCIJ replaced by the United Nations and International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice headquarters is in Hague, Netherlands. All the United Nations members are the part of International Court of Justice. So any nation who is the member of the United Nations can approach the ICJ. The ICJ actually settles the disputes between the states in the accordance with the international law and the given advisory opinions on the international legal issue. So any nation, those who having any kind of disputed problems with its neighbor or any other nation, that country can approach the ICJ. It is the only international court that adjudicates the general disputes between the countries, with its rulings and the opinions serving as an prima facie or the primary sources of the international law. So this is how the ICJ work and what it is. As we came to know that ICJ is very important United Nations body, but its verdicts are not enforceable to any nations. So if any country do not want to follow it or enforce it, then there are no punishment provided under any international law. Therefore, it's kind of a lame duck organization. Its rule or the verdict is nowhere to mean to the any nations, particularly the powerful nation whose words are important and the powerful, but these organizations is itself is non-recognizable to the countries, those who have a powerful law system within their own country. So here in this case, it is the Russia. If the Russia do not want to enforce it, then the world do not have any choice, rather condemning. That is what the world is doing since the Russia invaded the Ukraine. Instead of doing the condemnations, the world is not helping the Ukraine to get out of this mess. But the question is, if the Ukraine knew that International Court of Justice verdict is not enforceable, then why Ukraine did file a case in the first place? Ukraine knew they cannot punish Russia in this way. But they knew if they approached ICJ and the Russia failed to provide any kind of proof, and then Russia loses, and it happened in this case, then Russia will be humiliated in front of the world. And now the world is humiliating Russia. The Ukraine just wanted to show their power of democracy, because Russia is an authoritarian regime. And Russia is also the powerful member of the United Nations Security Council, because he is the permanent member of the United Nations Security Council. That is why the Russia is also the powerful member of the United Nations. To show the power, being an United Nations Security Council permanent member, if you do not have the proof, then you cannot win the case in the International Court of Justice. That is what the Ukraine was trying to show to the Russian people or the Russian government. There were 15 judges. Among those 15 judges, 13 held their verdict against Russia. Only 2 judges' verdict was in the Russia's favor. Among those 2 judges, one belongs to Russia itself, whose name is Kirill Grigoryan, and the other belongs to the China, and his name was Xu Han Queen. Now here in the ICJ, Indian judge, the Dalveer Bhandari, votes against Russia. Although India abstained from voting in United Nations against Russia, but here the picture is very different. Here a judge cannot abstain. He have to pronounce its verdict, whether it is yes or no, whether the judge like it or not. So India, being a peaceful nation, cannot support a war against a democratic nation. So India have to go in the favor of the Ukraine against Russia. So that is why Dalveer Bhandari has voted against Russia in this case. The court noted that it has prima facie jurisdiction under Article 9 of Genocide Convention to entertain the application of Ukraine. The court also observed that there are grounds of urgency and irreparable losses to consider provincial measures in the favor of Ukraine pending the final decision in the case. Here is a catch. The catch is the pending full judgment on this dispute will going to be take the years. That's why the Ukraine wants the court to take the provincial measures ordering Russia to immediately suspend the military operations. Anyway, the West, especially USA and the UK, has welcomed this verdict grandiosely, and they appeal Russia to stop this invasion immediately. In this case, the USA is very happy about the ICJ ruling. USA is celebrating the ICJ ruling, but that does not make USA holy cow who love to follow the ICJ ruling. I would like to recall 1986 ICJ ruling. In that case, USA had found out of violating the international law supporting Nicaraguan rebellion. The case was decided in the favor of the Nicaragua and against the states, with the awarding reparations to Nicaragua. The first USA refused to participate in the proceeding. Then they blocked enforcement of judgment by using United Nations Security Council, thereby prevented the Nicaragua from obtaining any compensation or reparations. The USA also rejected the International Court of Justice ruling in the favor of Iran. Here USA was found to violated the 1955 Treaty of Amity, Economic Relation and Council rights between the Iran and USA, and the China has also found of rejecting the ICJ ruling on South China Sea. In this case, the Philippines actually approached the International Court of Justice against the China. The International Court of Justice ruled in the favor of the Philippines, but International Court of Justice ruling was no longer available to be an effective tool to stop the China to be claiming the South China Sea as their own sea. So ICJ rulings are good for the small countries, not for the superpowers. And some organization like the JSTOR has also found that not all ICJ rulings are impartial. There are some rulings, those who are partial. They have also provided the evidence against their say. The report on the current issue is now available on Chicago Journal's website. You can go over there and check it out, that what this organization had said about it. So no way Russia will going to follow this rule or this ruling of the ICJ until the NATO won't give the Russia the written commitment that the Eastern European nations will no longer join the NATO. Russia just want the commitment, written commitment from NATO that they will not going to make the membership, they will not going to give the membership to the Ukraine, Finland, Sweden and the other nations, those who are not part of the NATO right now. The another case has just filed against Russia apart from this case. This case is related to the alleged war crimes and the crimes against humanity committed in the Ukraine since the Russian invasion. The case filed by the chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan. So Russia is in deep mess. So Russia has to come to the diplomatic table to resolve these situations amicably. Now it is up to the Russia what Russia will going to do. Now we have reached our question part. The question is, I have only given one question. The question is, India recently approached International Court of Justice against which country? The first option is Sri Lanka, second is Bangladesh, third is Pakistan, fourth is Afghanistan. If anyone have any questions or any doubt about any topic I have uploaded or any topic you want to talk about, then you can mail me to my email address, which is tuhin.power.academy@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.